How's it going, everybody? I'm meteorologist Joy Kregness, back with your daily forecast. Today we actually have a couple of different severe weather events in the upcoming days. First one today out in the Great Lakes region, parts of Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio. That's going to be an overnight, late evening, early morning risk. Then the big risk area is for tomorrow. All hazards possible for a large chunk of the central U.S. And then as well as that, those warm temperatures continuing for the central, southern, and eastern U.S. over the next week or so. Before we get into the interesting parts of the weather today, we have our Raising Hail Tour 2024. Last show is tomorrow out in Chicago, Illinois. Could see some severe weather out there on that day. So come by, say hi, see what we're expecting for tomorrow and the upcoming possible severe weather for this year. Then around the country, a few light rain showers, some cloudy skies, snow showers up in the higher elevations, warm temperatures building in from the south central U.S., southeast looking pretty nice as well, slightly cooler up in the Pacific Northwest with a little bit of a trough moving through, bringing some moderate rain to those areas. Right now in central Oklahoma, some areas already at 80 degrees, expecting to get pretty close to 90 degrees for some areas in central Oklahoma today. 77 in Norman and OKC, 83 already in Guthrie, so looking pretty warm. Already well into the 80s though for the DFW metro, 87 for McKinney and Decatur, looking very warm out there. They could see 90 degrees or higher later on this afternoon. Slightly cooler in Austin and San Antonio. They had a little bit of cloud cover this morning, which delayed that heating just a little bit, but they are also expected to get well into those 80s by later on this afternoon. Similar story for the Houston area with that cloud cover, so it's keeping those temperatures right now in the mid and low 70s, but again, it will be fairly warm later on this afternoon, especially for February. This time of year, usually we aren't seeing those types of things, but front range showing also some warm conditions, low 60s, mid and upper 50s for much of the front range. So just warm temperatures across pretty much the entire eastern half of the country. This is what we're looking at for the severe risk for today. Really only hail that we need to be concerned with as we go into the overnight hours. Not much of a wind threat, but we could see a few isolated storms start to build up very late in the overnight hours, early morning hours. So could see maybe a quarter or two, maybe $50 sized hail. Not expecting anything too big. We'll see not a whole lot going on as we continue through the evening, and then finally late those storms start to pop up, looking at like 1 a.m. When those storms finally start to build in from central Indiana. And before these storms kind of congeal into just a big mess, that's when we could see our biggest hail threat. So that'll quickly kind of turn into a mess of storms, not really producing much as we get into the early morning hours, but overnight is when we're expecting that possible hail threat. And then for tomorrow, this is quite a bigger event possibly. It all depends on how these storms evolve. If they stay isolated for a longer period of time, they have a higher chance of producing large hail. But if they turn into a line fairly quickly, that hail threat is going to die down. But this is what we have for our hail threat tomorrow, up to golf ball. Maybe even larger for some of these areas in the hatched risk area. We could see 2-inch plus hail for areas like Chicago, Fort Wayne, some areas in between there, looking pretty good for that severe hail threat. But again, it depends on how those storms evolve. If they can stay isolated for a longer period of time, that's when we'll see this hail threat pan out. But if they form into a line too quickly, that cold front overtakes all those storms, then that's going to turn mainly into a wind threat, which these are the areas that we'll be seeing for that larger wind threat. You see that area extended quite a bit farther down to the southwest compared to that hail threat, expecting those storms to kind of evolve from central Indiana or Illinois, move up to the northeast, and then that cold front is going to overtake those storms and kind of turn them into a line and produce primarily a wind threat. Largest or biggest threat areas for strong wind gusts, mainly in central Indiana and Illinois for tomorrow. And then we also do have a tornado threat with these storms as well. We could see a couple of isolated storms produce tornadoes, maybe a few embedded tornadoes in that line of storms as we get later on into tomorrow evening. But this is what we're looking at. Fort Wayne, Indiana, looking like a fairly good spot, so that tornadoes could be around north central Indiana, as well as parts of central Illinois could see that largest tornado threat. So let's look at the SIGTOR parameter here going into this evening. Not a whole lot, but that's because we're mainly expecting a hail threat for tonight. But then you see it really start to pick up as we head into fairly early tomorrow evening, looking fairly strong. So you see this nice little bubble, that high wind shear, expecting to get those storms to really start rotating as we get later on into the evening. SIG hail model, you see this bubble. This is what we're watching for that hail or hail potential as we head into the overnight hours tonight. This hail model doesn't really take into account the convective inhibition, the ability for storms to stay suppressed. So this is the main area of concern for the overnight hours. And then again, as we get into tomorrow evening, oh, it just froze. I guess it updated the model run. But anyway, main hail threat in central Illinois and Indiana as we head into tomorrow evening. We'll just get through this. There we go. Dew points looking fairly good. You can see we have, this is kind of where that low pressure system is located tomorrow evening. And then we have the cold front extending all the way down from Wisconsin all the way through Oklahoma. That'll drop temperatures quite a bit as we get into Wednesday. And then this feature here, we have a little bit of a dry line ahead of that cold front. And that's what could kick off those isolated storms, providing just enough lift to get them going, produce some hail, wind, maybe some tornadoes. But then that cold front is going to catch up to the dry line, blow all those storms out, and make them form into a pretty decent squall line as we head into the early morning hours, and that'll become primarily a wind threat. Fairly dry conditions behind that system. So after that system sweeps through, not expecting a whole lot of storms, at least for a little while. Looking at our future radar, we have a couple of cells firing off in central Illinois as we head into tomorrow evening. We'll have, if we stay on the drier side and don't get all of this precipitation out ahead of the main system, that'll do good things for our severe threat. But if we do get all of this precipitation ahead of all those storms, expecting it to stay on the lower end of our expected risks for tomorrow. But we do have a couple of good cells that could produce some strong hail, some tornadoes potentially, and you see some snow filling in behind that. So northern Illinois and Indiana might get a little bit of weather whiplash tomorrow, going from severe thunderstorms and tornadoes to moderately heavy snow as we get into Wednesday morning. Then upper air jet stream showing a decent low pressure system tracking off into the Great Lakes region, and this solid jet streak right here giving enough upper level support for some severe weather as we get into tomorrow and Wednesday. Taking a little bit of a farther look out in terms of temperature, 6 to 10 day outlook showing those warm temperatures continuing for pretty much the entire eastern half of the country, below average temperatures for the western half. So this indicates a pretty good trough over the western half of the country and a decent ridge over the eastern half. So expecting that pattern to stick in place, we could see a few waves of severe weather as we head into the next few weeks, just kind of repeated wave after wave with that, the way the jet stream currently is set up. Looking at our precipitation outlook, above average precipitation for most of the country, maybe a little dry spot far in the northeast, but expecting a lot of moisture to build in from the southwest, some good Gulf moisture bringing a lot of moisture for those storms that could continue for the Central U.S. into next week. That's all we got for today. If you're interested in learning more about us, give us a follow on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. If you're interested in purchasing a plan, go ahead and scan that QR code up above me, or give us a call at 855-334-4245. Email us at info@hailtrace.com, or check out our website at www.hailtrace.com for more info. But for now, I'm meteorologist Joey Cragness. Thanks for watching.